welcome back. Terry from Smooth's Workshop here. We're on to the 6th video in the series, or the build number 5 of my Russian T-55 medium tank, which I'm doing for the international scale modelers from Russia with Love build. We're on to the stage now. Last time you seen me, I'd primed everything. Yeah, it's all sitting across there at my spray booth. We're on to the tracks now. Now, these are the tracks from the T-55A that I'm building. They're quite a soft, flexible vinyl, and they have, let's see if we can, I'll just get myself a wee pointy stick. They have, at the end on here, a recess with 4 little tabs on, and at the other end, on the underside, a flat piece of vinyl with 4 holes in. Now, these are intended to be glued together. So obviously, if I'm going to be painting any of them, I'm going to have to mask them up. Now, just as a contrast, there's lots of different types of tracks. Oh, sorry, that's my Facebook going daft there. This is from an earlier Tamiya kit. I'm also building a Panther. These are vinyl tracks, but they're a lot firmer. And these work on a heat weld. Now, I might have mentioned before, I'm trying to see if I can see my wee nail. No, I've not got it handy. What we have in this one is a series of 4 holes, and on the other end there's 4 protrusions, I don't know what else to call them, of vinyl. And on this type of track, get your teeth in, Terry, you insert the 4 protruding parts through the track. Just try to do this. That's a horrible setup, this. I'm building a Tamiya Panther as well, just for the fun of it. I got it cheap. I was going to practice some weathering techniques on it. Eventually, oh, this is really frustrating. Trying to get these wee tabs through there. Right, they're through. Okay. So you end up with these 4 wee tabs through the top of the track. Now you've got to clamp the track together, and then with a lighter, heat up a nail or something similar, and squash down these 4 tabs until they melt down close to the track, and that's what holds the track together. That's the early Tamiya ones. Not looking forward to them. So I just thought I would show you them. Hold on, I'll just mute this. Yeah, Facebook's going daft there. But that's the earlier ones of my Panther, which I'll just show you actually. I've got a Panther build going on at the same time. I'm not videoing this, it's just for a bit of a practice for me with painting and stuff. So yeah, that was the tracks off the Panther. Right, back to the T-55. Okay, so I've got these tracks, and every so often there is an ejector pin mark or a moulding mark. I'll need to remove these. God, my phone's going daft. Need to remove these. Note to self, remember your phone switched off when you're doing a video. So I've got to do all of those. So I'm just going to pause for a second to switch my phone off. Silly me. And then I'll go on to how we're going to prepare the tracks. Welcome back. Right, prepping the tracks. I spoke to a few of my friends in my social network that build armour all the time, and my plan for these tracks was to excuse me, prime them with an acrylic primer from MIG, the Tracks primer, MIG 2007. Now, what the guys have told me is on these vinyl tracks, acrylics don't bond very well. You maybe remember me referring earlier on that once the tracks actually flex and come over the wheels and everything like that, that the paint might come off. So a little tip I've been told is I'm going to revert back to my old Tamiya rattle can, and I'm going to put a coat of, it's cellulose based, lacquer based for the American guys. I'm going to put some of that on it first and let that cure, and then go on with my tracks primer. They've told me I should get a better result with that. So yeah, I've left the ends on so I can handle the tracks, and I'm going to remove these injector marks. Detailing on the tracks isn't too bad. You can get these metal kits with link pins and everything, or plastic kits with link pins and everything, and I don't have the budget for that. But I think that the detailing on them's not bad. My first armour build in 30 years, so I'm going to do it with what comes out the box. So that's the tracks. Now I've got to remove these injector pin marks, so I'm just going to see if I can give it just a wee side swipe with my knife. They're not going to come right down, unfortunately. Right, so I've still got a wee bit there. Not quite sure how to clean that up. Lots of traffic in the background, all my biker pals waving at me. So I'm going to have a wee play with these and clean them up. Then what I'm going to do is on the ends that glue together, I don't want to spray them. So I've got 10mm Tamiya masking tape, which is exactly the same width as these tabs, and I'm going to mask the parts that I don't want any paint on, so that when I glue them together it's a good surface to surface bond. I'll leave these tabs on until I actually glue it together. So that's what I'm going to do off camera. I'm going to clean all these wee tabs off, see if I can dress them up a bit. Vinyl doesn't really clean up that well. Hopefully I can get it back far enough. I mean, by the time mud washes and all that goes on it, hopefully we won't see them, or if they appear, they actually appear just to be on one side, and the other side, I might put them to the inside of the tank, so they're not so visible. So that's what I'm going to do just now, and I'll see you in 5. Toodaloo. Welcome back. Sorry about the traffic noise. I know I'm going to be using my airbrush later, so again I've got my exhaust tube out the window. Right, I've dressed up the best I can these little injection marks, but they're not easy to come off, and even though you cut the surface part off, it leaves a recess. So alright, I'm going to have to make the best of a bad job. That's the tracks that come with the kit. I have masked with a 10mm Tamiya masking tape the bit with the 4 tabs on both of the tracks, and I'm just throwing away my pointer stick. And on the, grab another one, on the other side of the track, the flat piece with the 4 holes in, I've masked that off so that I can spray all of the track apart from the 2 mating surfaces that I want to glue together. So got that in shot. That's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to go off outside now because it's dry, and this stuff really smells because it's cellulose based. There doesn't appear to be any wind, so I'm going to put a mist coat and another coat of primer on these tracks, and I'm going to let them dry overnight. So join me in a little bit, and I should have these primed with the cellulose based primer rather than the acrylic based track primer. So back in a little bit. Bye. Yeah, welcome back. Right, this is the second time filming this part. I got the video the last time but no audio. It's a little glitch with my camera. Right, I said I was going off to spray Oh, I've not got the paint here. With the Tamiya Fine Surface Primer, the cellulose based one, the grey one, because I've been advised by one of my friends in my model builders social network, a guy called Hendrik. If you need to know anything about armour building, he's the guy to go to. We like to have a wee laugh with him and chat, but yeah, Hendrik's the man. So he said to me, these vinyl tracks don't take too well to the acrylic primers. You need to excuse me, I'm holding my camera freehand. My initial plan was to use the MiG 2007 Trax primer to go on them, but he was telling me that would probably flake off, and if I had any Tamiya to go over the tracks. Now these tracks have probably been done about 45 minutes ago, they're really dry to the touch. I'm going to give them a bit longer to cure. Be really nice if I could get in with the Trax primer tonight. I've got so many different sections I'm trying to do at the same time, but yeah, they've come up really well, and the primers adhered really well. Obviously the injection marks haven't went away, but that was expected. So yeah, I mean, this stuff's flexing, and just trying to have a look. I am getting some cracking. Obviously this isn't cured, but I'm getting cracking in the primer there. So I think the best thing to do with them is let them cure overnight before putting anything else in them. Yeah, but as I feared, now there's, just try to get in close. If I start moving those parts, the primer that I've just sprayed on is cracking. It's not cured, it's only been on half an hour. So yeah, I'm going to leave that overnight. I've got a cup. I know I'm going to be, excuse me, I'm bumping stuff about. I know I'm going to be going in with some Rust Effects colours on the main body of the tank. I might use some of these as well on the tracks. I'm not sure. I'd also got a tyres and track set. I might use some of them on the tracks. I'm not sure which yet, but the tracks depicted in the picture here are road tracks which have little rubber bumpers on them. These are metal tracks, so they won't have any of that. I'm quite spoiled for choice as far as effects goes, because I've also got one of these wee products. That's a clay based wash from Ultimate Model Products. That's a rust that I might, once I've got my initial colours and everything on, might go over that with a rust coat. That's an option that's open to me. As far as the paint callouts for this, they're asking for the tracks to be painted in, oh, bouncy, Tamiya's XF56 metallic grey. Don't know if you can see that. Yeah, that's what they're calling out for the tracks to go in. So here's my plan. I'm going to let this cure overnight. I'm going to go in with the MiG Trax primer to give it an initial. It's kind of like a really dark brown rusty colour. The guys that make metal tracks together and use burnishing fluids and everything, they tend to get like a dark black, a dark grey colour, but this is just a primer. Then my plan is to go over that with a metallic grey, the X56, and then what I'm thinking is these little spikes here that run up the middle of the drive wheels. Now the tracks are constructed from steel, so my thinking is, right, I'm going to give this a coat of, well, I've gave this a coat of the grey primer. I'm going to go over the Trax primer. I'm going to go over it again with the X56. Whether this is too much paint for the tracks, I don't know, I'm just learning. But I have this metal colour from MiG, it's steel. And what I'm thinking is, because the tracks are made of steel, and anything that's going to rub against moving parts, the drive cogs, spikes, whatever you want to call them, and where the wheels actually contact the track, I'm going to give them an airbrush coat with the steel. so it looks like these are being worn all the time, so they're down to the bare steel. Then I'll lacquer it, gloss coat it, and this is me thinking out loud here. Lacquer it, gloss coat it. Then I'm going to go in with some rust effects to simulate, you know, that the parts that aren't being worn against will be rusty, and mud washes and rust washes and stuff on top of that. So that's that. I'd lost this little clip of footage, so I've just reshot it again. Hopefully it works. But that's what I'm planning with the tracks. I've never painted tracks, I've never weathered tracks. I kind of know what tracks look like, but whether I get the colours right, or the method right, or whether as soon as I spray it all up and it looks beautiful and I put it round, everything flakes off, I don't know. This is a learning curve. That's my plan. Right, off to the next clip. See you soon. Bye. Welcome back. Lots of short clips here as there's a lot I'm trying to juggle around. Right, the wee commander figure that I primed with, oh, excuse me, the black primer, MiG 2005. It didn't quite give me the colour I was wanting, and in the colour callouts on the instructions, let's see if we can see here, it's asking me, pointer, it's asking me, his face and flesh parts, his hands are XF15, which is a flesh tone. XF1 is a matte black, so it's saying his trousers, his jacket and his hat going XF1, which is a matte black, and X18 for his boots, which is a semi-gloss black, also his belt and his intercom. So I have prepared here, this is the one I'm going to run through the airbrush, and that's Tamiya's flat black XF1, so he's going to get a full coat of that. Once he's dried, these acrylics don't take too long to dry, his boots and belt and his headphones or whatever you call them, they're going to be in a semi-gloss black X18, they're going to be hand brushed. And for the initial skin tones before any weathering, it's Tamiya's flat flesh XF15. So that's the commander figure. So when I come back in the next small section, I will have in my airbrush some flat black XF1, which will give him a full coat of. Going on to the anti-aircraft gun. Now again I primed that in the same black. It calls out for, now I got the colour code wrong in the last video. It's actually X10 gunmetal, Tamiya's gunmetal. I do have another gunmetal from MiG, but I like the Tamiya gunmetal, so it's going to get, the main gun parts are going to get a whole coat with the X10. Now if I look at the instructions again, here we go, see if we can see this. So it's actually calling for the main part of the gun in X10, which is gunmetal, and it's calling out for XF1 flat black on a couple of parts underneath. I don't know if that's probably because they've got a telescopic action or whatever, but they'll need detail painted by brush. And it's calling out for the handles to be XF64. XF64 is a reddish brown. I'll try that and see what it looks like. I was under the belief these handles were made of wood, and if they're made of wood, maybe somebody can tell me. Give me 2 seconds, I'm just moving some pieces around here. I was thinking more of possibly the old wood from the MiG set. So what I'll do is I'll spray the main body of the gun with the X10 gunmetal. Wait till that dries. I'll try and do the handles, which are really small. There's not much to them, the two wee handles there. I'll try them with the XF64 and see what they look like. If they look rubbish, then I will, I'll try, I'm pretty sure that the handles are made of wood. I'll try some of the MIG paints on it when I'll go to all the detail painting. So in the next section, it will detail me getting the airbrush set up for spraying the commander figure with XF1. The schedule of the video is all going to pot, but anyway. Yeah, I'm going to spray him with the XF1, then I'm going to clean through the airbrush, which I will, maybe for the newbies like me, I'll show through how to do a colour change. You might find it useful. You don't have to strip down your airbrush after every coat of paint. And then through the airbrush, this is to allow these parts to have time to dry for me, so that when I've done my rust parts, I'm waiting on them drying, I can come and detail paint some of these. So yeah, we'll then cut to a colour change and painting this in the X10 gunmetal. And then after that, I'm still deciding whether, likes of these barrels and that, this is a rust primer, this isn't an actual rust effect, any of the colours from the rust effects set. I'm swithering whether to go with a medium rust and spray everything that's going to be affected with the medium rust, and then dry brush a darker rust and a lighter rust either side to fade it in to give tonal variation. Haven't decided yet whether I'm going to do it all by brush or I'm going to use airbrush. So this is a evolving work in progress. I've never done weathering before, but this is a straightforward basic paint steps. So when you cut back to me, I'll be over there at my airbrush booth, and we're going to paint the gun and the commander figure. Okay, see you soon. Bye. Welcome back. Right, time for the exciting part, the bit that's new to me. Is painting with the airbrush. Right, commander figure. The primer is all on. He's not the black that I want him to be, so it calls out for Tamiya XF1 flat black, so flat black we shall go. Now this is a bit of a bugbear with me. Get a lot of the guys shaking it up and all the rest of it. There's no agitator balls or anything in there. They shake it up and then they take the paint from it. Nah, not a fan. Sorry, Tony. Tamiya paint stirrer. You get pigment at the bottom of this, and I know it's quite watery, but I'm a great believer on mix your paint thoroughly. Okay, so that's had a good mix. With a wee paint stirrer. Now, before I put any paint on the model, just got to put the cap on this just for a second, stop any dust or detritus getting into it, or me spilling it accidentally. My airbrush. Right, since my last painting job, I haven't done a full strip down and clean, I've only blown it through. Can you see that blue liquid in the bottom? Okay, I mentioned it before, it's Ultimate Modelling Products Airbrush Cleaner. So if there's any paint lying between there and there, it's going to dissolve it. So the first thing I will do is, compressor is on. I've got a quick release connector onto the bottom of my airbrush. Ho ho ho. Right, it's on. Now the first thing I'm going to do is go check my air compressor pressure. I'm going to take it down. Roughly between 18 and 20 psi. Again, set with the button down. Now this cleaner that's in here, I'm just going to blow this through. So I'm going to put my extractor on. Pulling the trigger back. Just blasting out all that airbrush cleaner. Hear the change in tone. Empty cup. just to make sure that's all out of there. There's some X20A sitting down here. Just going to get my pipette, put some X20A in. Which is the thinners, and run that through. You hear that noise? That's all of that out. Clean cut. Ready for paint. Okay. Now, Tamiya's colour guides say that if you're using metallic paints you want a 50-50 mix of thinners and paint. And with their other colours you're wanting a 2-to-1 mixture, 2 parts paint to 1 of thinners. So, I'm not going to use a lot of paint on a figure this size, but I'm just learning. A lot of guys just pour it straight into the colour cup. I'm going to be a bit more methodical. These wee pipettes have like 1, 2, 3 mils and all that on it. I'm just going to do a squeeze in and come up. Right, that's giving me 2 mil. That's far too much. 1. Just under 1. Right, about half a mil of thinners into my cup. Okay, so what does that look like? What does half a mil look like? There you go, just a wee drop in the bottom. Now, onto my paint. I've already stirred it. I'll use a different pipette and I'll just put the lid on my thinners. Half a mil. So for a 2-to-1 ratio, I want 1 mil to half a mil. Yeah? No. Is that right? Let me think. Half a mil, and then twice that of paint. Yeah, 1 mil. So I want about 1 mil of paint. So, into the pipette, not quite a mil. That's near enough for me. I don't know if you can see that on the camera, but that's 1 mil of paint. I'll just put that in my colour cup. Now there's a couple of different ways of mixing this. It's only a small amount. I'm going to do the cheats way and soak it up the pipette and keep squeezing it in and out to mix the thinners and the paint. Now the reason I put the thinners in first is to avoid cloggage. Some guys put the paint in first and then put the thinners in, but I like to put the thinners in first. So that's that. Okay, so I'll just, give me a second. Sorry this is long-winded, I'm still learning here, but I'm trying to teach you guys at the same time if you're not used to an airbrush. Right, so paint out the way. Lids on the thinners, can't spill anything. Right, before I start painting, I've already mixed it there with the pipette. What I'm just going to do is I'm going to put my finger over the end and go down in there and back. Just till it starts blowing back. Can you see the bubbles? That's just a wee final mix. And then I'm going to put my colour cap on, because I'm prone to spillage off to the side. Right, here we go. Ooh, going to paint them. And because he's got primer and that on, I'm going to mist it slightly to start with. Hopefully you've got them in shot there. First I'm going to check my flow, so that's just air. And then come back on the trigger. Now what I have done on this my airbrush, take the end off. The one on the end is the chuck for your needle. This one here adjusts the resistance of the trigger. And I found it was hard to get the sweet spot, so I've just tightened that up to give me a bit more resistance. I'm going to see how that goes. So anyway, check my flow. I'm finding that easier to manage. Before I start painting, just check you can write your name. That's showing me that's thin enough, it's spraying nice, I've got the right pressure. So, to the figure. Back with the paint and just nice wee light coat, getting in at all the bits and bobs. Just getting a nice coat all over them. Under his feet, up the back of his legs. And the paint effect on this one, just got the top of his head. Tamiya paints spray beautifully if you've got them properly thinned. Okay? And it dries so quickly, so that's a wee coat on them, and obviously it's still wet just now, but that sort of semi-gloss black that I had, you can probably see them drying before your very eyes, that semi-gloss black I've had now went more matte, which is the colour that I'm wanting. It's still quite glossy around there, just having a look to see if I've missed any parts. Round about his backside where I've got the cocktail stick, I'm not worried about too much because that's not going to be seen. That's the part that's glued onto the tank, and you're not actually going to see his lower body, it's just the upper half that's hanging out. So I'm just going to go over with one final wee mist coat. I'm just checking my feed again, and I'm just going to go up under his arm. Yeah, I'm finding it easier to find what I call the sweet spot, where the paint starts kicking in, that I've adjusted the tension on my airbrush. This is going to be his uniform's final colour. Just giving him a wee blow off with air. And that's what I'm wanting. Switch that compressor off it. It goes in a bit of a hissy fit when it's in between pressures. Right. He's sprayed and he's going to come a nice matte black. I can see it starting to change colour already. So that's him done. Right. So the next item I'm going to do is the anti-aircraft gun, but it's a different colour. So just for you guys, I'm just going to see how much is actually left in this colour cup. Just for you guys that are new to airbrushing and want to know what to do in between colours. There's still a bit of paint in there, and like a friend of mine, Tony, I don't like wasting paint. So there's my paint pot. Doesn't matter that there's thinners going in. Grab myself a bit of kitchen roll. I don't like wasting stuff, so I'll pour that back into my paint pot. Okay, so I'm going to be changing colours and I've got all this gunk at the bottom of here. So what do you do next? Right, so avoid spillage, put the lid on that, I'll put that away aside. These are disposable, but I might be able to reuse that again if I'm using black again. So, right, my X20A. This is the first thing I do because it's Tamiya paints. I'm going to get myself a good scoosh. Right, see if I can do this into the colour cup. All the way around. Okay. Then, with an old paintbrush, I'm simply going to work my way around the edges of the colour cup, taking any paint that's might be on the side of the colour cup and washing it down. Now, you need something to tip away all your rubbish into, so I've got an old coffee jar here. Oh, can I do it one-handed? Yep, I've had my Weetabix. Right. Done on the side of the pot. I'm going to get down in round about the needle and round about the bottom where the paint was sitting. Yep, give that a good slurge about. And we're just going to tip this away. We don't want to blow this stuff through. Okay, so tip it away. Right, there's still some gunk in there. Give it a bit of a wipe out with the paper towel. Outside the colour cup as well. Just give it a good wipe out. Right, there's still stuff in the bottom there. Okay, not a problem. Another wee quick squishy thinners in. And where we're looking at concentrating on now is down by the needle and the bottom of the colour cup. So I'm just in there with my paintbrush, giving it a wee nice soft paintbrush so it's not going to damage anything. Okay. Again, don't want to be blowing this stuff through. Tip it out. Clean my colour cup again. Just make sure you've got plenty kitchen roll and everything. You would think that looks clean. Okay, fair dues. But it's not. Just grab myself a little bit. So I'm going to connect my air hose up this time. Quick release. Great idea. That's just air it's going through. Right. Some more X28 thinners into the colour cup. You can see already that there's some colour coming up there. Right. Now, a bit like when we were mixing to start with. On with the air. Blow it through. Look at all the rubbish that's brought out. Okay. Again. Tip that away. Give it a wipe out. I'm not trying to teach anybody how to suck eggs here. This is aimed at people that are new with airbrushes, that think you've got to strip down your airbrush every time you change colour and everything like that. So it's to help new people like myself. So again, it looks clean, but I can assure you it's not. Another wee drop. The Tamiya in there, the X28. Blow it through. It's all black again. Tip it out. Don't want that stuff. Wipe it out. Now, this next wee bit is what I do, right? Maybe not what everybody does, but it's what I do with this particular brush. Right, I'll take the air off just now. Right, where's my tiny brush? There it is. Right, okay. The actual tip here has got a very fine needle in it. Okay? You don't want to touch that with anything hard. That'll cause you problems. So, just in case, this is also what you do if you get tip dry, if you get paint sitting around about the tip. Dip your brush into the X28 and just gently, ever so gently, round about the tip of the needle, go around it. Okay? Now, in the operation of the airbrush, when you pull this lever back, the needle disappears away. Oh, I don't know if you're going to get this. The needle disappears away from the tip. So, You never want to go in with a cotton bud and touch your needle. You'll bend it. You'll need to buy a new needle. So needle away. We touch into the X20A and just get that in round about there. If I ever get tip dry or anything, this is what I do. I go in and I clean all this bit out. Okay? So the actual nozzle part here and the part the needle comes through is all clean. The brush has cleaned the actual tip of the needle. Right, so that was two brushes. I'm not going to use any more brushes or cotton buds now. What I'm going to do, and sorry if this is quite lengthy, it is aimed at beginners and newbies like myself, so the guys that know how to do this will laugh. Right, there's still some crap in the bottom of there, so I'm just going to again go in with my old brush and give it another good wee dig in there, all the recesses, just to get this paint out. Right, paint brushes give a better finish. Hand painting is quicker because you've not got all this clean up, right? But what some guys do in between colour changes is they do a full strip down of the brush. I would have probably had this done if it wasn't on camera, but right, tip away that black rubbish. It really doesn't take long once you get into it, and dry out the cup. Right, so my tip and my needle is clean. The cup looks relatively clean. I'll just put a wee bit more of the X20A in there and connect to my air hose, and I'll give it a wee blow back. Still a wee bit dirty. Right, pour it out. Wee touch more. Still a wee bit dirty. Certain pigments are harder to clean away than others. Another wee touch in. Give it a blow. Right, that's coming through almost clear now. Alright, there's a little bit of pigment coloration in there, but that's almost clear. So that's safe now to go. I'll just put the cap on this so I don't spill it. I'll just put the compressor back on. That's safe now to blow through. And just for good measure, another wee touch more. That's the way I do it. It's maybe not the way to do it, but using this method, I'm just going to put my extractor in for the alcohol fumes. Using this method allows me to change paints relatively quickly. I've went into an elaborate method of doing it, but tip and needle of my airbrush is clean, and so is the colour pot, so I'm ready for the next colour. Now if I wasn't going to use a colour, I would put a wee drop of this blue stuff in the bottom. There's no need to strip your airbrush totally down in between colour changes. Beautifully clean. So that was that bit done. Wasn't too painful. Right, onto my gun. Okay, that's going to go X10, right? Same as before, I'm not a fan of just shaking the bottle up. These metallics separate out. I don't know if you can make it out. There's the medium for the pigment on the top, and as you stir it, changes colour and all the metallic pigments come up through it. I'm a great believer in paint prep, so the guys that shake it, there's no agitator balls in this. And again, I'm not digging at anybody, Tony. If you don't stir it well and you just shake it and you're taking the surface layer off, what you're taking is a lot of the suspension liquid and a little bit of the pigment, and by the time you get to the end of the bottle, all you're left with is the metallic pigment and not enough of the suspension fluid, and you're wasting your paint. That's only my opinion. Okay, so I've given that a good mix and it goes like a lovely marbly effect. Can you see that? Right, so that's the X10, that's the Tamiya gunmetal. Prepped. Now, with the metallic colours, which also takes slightly longer to dry, Tamiya recommend a 50-50 mix. So, there's my X20A. I should have a clean pipette over here for my X10. That's for my X10. Guys that are used to using airbrushes, they'll pour a bit of thinner in and they'll pour the paint in by eye. Brilliant. I'm a newbie. So, gun's not going to take an awful lot of paint, so I'm just going to... Right, what's it saying on my pipette? 1 mil, nah. Oh, went too far, a bit more. I'll get this right eventually. Right, that's roughly about, I'm looking for the 50-50 mix, so that's a half a mil of the X20A thinner into the bottom of my colour cup. Hardly any. I don't even know if you can see that. Yeah, there's hardly any in there. Right, and I want to go about roughly the same amount of the X10. Oh, it's quite hard to tell. Right, roughly 50-50. It doesn't have to be exact. So I'll go on with my X10. Right, and the cheats way of mixing it, just get up and down with the pipette. Try to see if you can see that. Just get up and down with the pipette. Can you see that lovely metallic colour coming up now? Right, that's the colour we're wanting for the weapon. Gorgeous. Right, so I'm just getting all that out of that pipette. Lay that to the side. Finger over the end, just one last final mix. Okay, and to save any major problems, colour cap on. I'm going to shoot this at the same pressure, so I'm just going to get this out of the way so I don't spill it. That's the X10 gunmetal. And put my cap back on the X20A. Just looking at pipette, a lovely wee metallic colour going through it. Okay, so that's that. Right, compressor on. Here's me, what I'm wanting to spray. Check my flow. Spray booth on. Again, if you can write your name, the mixture's correct. Okay, right, so onto the gun. Air on. I always find that the Tamiya metallics spray lovely. I'm just concentrating here, obviously. It's my first real time spraying these colours, and I want to try and make as good a job as I can of it. Try to get into all the recesses. Again, sorry if I go quiet. It's spraying lovely that. Can you see the shine on that gunmetal? Now I'm just having a wee look to see if I've missed any areas. It seems to have got in quite well. As I say, the Tamiya metallics, they spray really well, but they take a little while longer than the ordinary acrylics to dry. Just go let that sit for a minute. Right, I had intended in this section to do the tracks primed, the commander figure, getting the paint on the weapon, and then onto the rust effects. It looks like being the next video for the rust effects on the body. I'm kind of doing this on the cuff, so that's what I intend to do. I think we'll close after this section, and I'll start a new video so it doesn't run into hours and hours for each section when I go into the rusting on the main body. So I'm actually looking at that and thinking, that's got damn good coverage all over. I'm quite impressed with that, and it's a lot easier than brush painting, especially when you've got fine detail on the barrel that brush painting kind of obscures, and the airbrushing doesn't. So yeah, I think I've got good coverage on that, so I'm going to call that quits on the gun. How much paint did I use? Haha, here we go. I'm going to need to do another clean through on my airbrush anyway. You don't need to watch that again, but that little tiny drop of paint I put in, I've still got loads left. I don't like wasting, so that could go back into the pot for another day. And I'll just take the worst out, and then I'll go through the same process again, cleaning it. But at the end of this cleanup, I'll be setting some airbrush cleaner in it until my next one. So thanks for watching. Hopefully I haven't bored you to tears. Hopefully some of the newer airbrush users have got some useful tips from this. And I'll see you in the next part, where we will be doing rust effects for me for the first time. So until then, Terry from Smooth's Workshop. Bye.